Round of applause for our next panel. Woo!
I'm joining late, as usual. I'm super excited to have this panel, mainly because, one, there was just a huge announcement on AppKit and being built on Bitcoin. And I'm someone that just crawled into a cave. For the last 3 years, I've only been focused on EVM and alt VMs. And before I crawled into this cave or echo chamber, I always thought, okay, Bitcoin is a store of value, or it's digital gold. Turns out there's so many things happening on Bitcoin today, and I'm really excited to introduce some of these builders and people that have been in the trenches. So I'd love to start with some intros.
Okay. So, hey everyone, I'm Ben from Reown. I'm the Director of Engineering. I joined Reown when I think I was employee number 9 back in the day with Pedro, and it's been a great journey up to this point and with all of you today. So I'm really looking forward to having these great people to talk to about Bitcoin and AppKit.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alisia Painter. I'm one of the founders of Botanics Labs. We're the most decentralized EVM L2 on Bitcoin in the world.
Hey, guys. I'm Kathy. I'm the APAC PD lead for Thesis and Mezzo. So Mezzo is also an EVM Bitcoin L2 that utilizes TBTC as its gas token. And we're basically building a dApps hub surrounding Bitcoin TBTC.
Hey everyone, I'm Ken, founder and CEO of Xverse. Xverse is a Bitcoin wallet for Web3. We're the leading wallet for Bitcoin ordinals, runes, and the other protocols that are being developed on Bitcoin right now. So if you're interested in that, go find Xverse.
Awesome. My name is Emily. I'm the CMO of Hype. We're a crypto native marketing agency. So I'd love to start high level for noobs like me. What even is Bitcoin Fi? And maybe I'll start with Kathy, since it seems like you oversee so many different companies building in that space.
All right. For me, I think Bitcoin Fi is, I would say, trying to, the initiative to build a financial layer on top of, for Bitcoin. So as we know that Bitcoin has been, for a long time, seen as digital gold, aka a store of value. But now I think with the new technology, so for example, like starting from ordinal protocols, even BVM, and more like Bitcoin staking and restaking protocols coming out, the initiative to make Bitcoin as a more productive asset. So for Bitcoin holders to participate in different DeFi activities, for example, staking, lending, and then utilizes Bitcoin to generate more yields. So that's how I understand Bitcoin Fi.
I'd love to go a layer deeper. Why does Bitcoin Fi even need to exist? If we have EVMs, if we have alt VMs, if we have blockchains built purely for smart contracts, why should DeFi on Bitcoin exist? What's your take, Ben?
I think it has a value proposition where I think Bitcoin, based on its history and like the kind of ethos that a lot of Bitcoin holders have, especially I think some of the larger ones, is that maybe they don't want to be involved with what we're so familiar with in the EVM world and that ecosystem, but they want to have something that's native to Bitcoin. So maybe Stacks is a good example here, where it has its own language rather than using Solidity like Rootstock does. And I think it has its own space. I mean, in some sense, will you be reinventing the wheel a bit? I mean, yes, because a lot of this has been done already in the EVM space, but you can probably take the learnings from that too. But I think also it provides a kind of firewalled solution for people, maybe even institutional investors that say, we want to get the best of DeFi without being exposed to the kind of hacks or risks that we've seen in the EVM ecosystem. So I think it has its own kind of space in the market. Yeah.
For the two of you that are actively building on Bitcoin, can you walk me through why you chose Bitcoin versus other chains? Is there any other insights, or do you completely agree with both Kathy and Ben?
Yeah, I think to take a step back, there's what BTC Fi is today and what I think we should be building towards in the future. So BTC Fi, as it stands today, what's really happening is a lot of this Bitcoin is aggregating. Folks are bridging it over to Ethereum and seeking yields. And I think the existence of WBTC as an asset class is a testament to the potential of Bitcoin Fi. And if you think about it, WBTC is very centralized. That is why a lot of Bitcoiners have been averse to engaging in BTC Fi because of the inherent centralization, both in WBTC as well as within Ethereum as a whole. So I think the existence of that as an asset class, the existence and emergence of what is now being labeled as BTC Fi, is a testament to how much potential there is out there. Now, Bitcoin is the elephant you cannot ignore, right? The election happened and the number one headline related to crypto was related to Bitcoin price. It is $1 trillion. It's actually 1.5 now. We cannot ignore it. So we can think of it or let it ossify into digital gold, but that's just going to hold crypto back. Because at the end of the day, it is the only cryptocurrency that your moms and dads know about. And if we don't potentialize it further from a store of value into something much more, I think it's going to hold back the rest of crypto as well. I tell this to a lot of people. Ethereum at the end of the day, it's the same 10,000 of us at every conference and the same 200,000 users. If we really want to make crypto and blockchain accessible to the masses, if we want to make a meaningful change and transform TradFi into something that is decentralized and brings power back to the people, it will only happen on Bitcoin.
Yeah, so I think maybe some people sometimes forget that this DeFi stuff is meant actually to be on Bitcoin. And people don't remember that Bitcoin actually has smart contracts, right? It's just that it's not as powerful and it's not as scalable. And that's one of the reasons chains like Ethereum and others were developed, so that you could have a more scalable chain to build these applications. And sometimes people joke and say that, Ethereum was actually a test net for smart contracts on Bitcoin. And I think that's maybe true to some degree. And we're seeing that now with several years of tech being built, research, enabling Bitcoin to actually maybe evolve a little bit and have this more advanced smart contract capability with L2s. I think attention, money, builders all flooding back into Bitcoin, where this whole DeFi, the global financial system could be actually be based on Bitcoin, right? So I think that's the reason we're building on Bitcoin.
And actually, just to add on to that, it's really interesting. Like around the 80 teams that are building on us, they're all EVM builders because we're an EVM chain, but they're all OG Bitcoiners who are so excited to now finally be building on Bitcoin, because that is the reason we're all in this room today.
Thank you so much for the context. So something I was doing to prep for this, just imagining that I came out of hibernation and I'm trying to catch up with what's happening in the Bitcoin world, was I looked at DeFi Llama today and I noticed that there's 3.1 billion staked worth of Bitcoin. And I made sure to check, is it purely because the value went up to all-time highs? But no, it looks like in the last 2 weeks, it went from 10,000 Bitcoin staked to 50,000. That's a 5x increase. I don't know if these charts are correct, wrong, but I'd love to hear from some of you on what is going on. What are people actually doing on Bitcoin? And what are some of the reasons to cause the surge?
I mean, I don't have a sophisticated take on this, but my take is that I think because of the US elections and geopolitics, that a lot of risk got kind of taken out, especially over the last week for people, and they maybe felt more comfortable from having Bitcoin liquid, so to say, to going back to a more long-term view and staking. That's, without having researched it further, would be my naive take on it.
I think Bitcoin staking is actually a fundamental for acquiring and aggregating liquidity for Bitcoin Fi and also Bitcoin L2, because liquidity is essentially really a foundation for a network or for a chain, and I think the growth of I cannot tell because I don't know the actual data, but I think the growth of those staked Bitcoin volumes are mainly steered by the Babylon staking cap 2. That I think 23,000 bitcoins have been staked into Babylon, and apart from that, a lot of like Bitcoin staking and restaking protocols also accumulated some other like bitcoins. So that's the main driver for this growth. And for example, for Mazo as well, our mainnet is not live, but we had already launched a pre-mainnet deposit portal, which accumulates around, I think, 2,500, 2,600 Bitcoin. So to our portal as well, that's also equivalent to around, I guess, 170 million US dollars worth of Bitcoin and worth of dollars. And then I think that's that's what I guess all the L2s are also doing. So basically, having to gaining attention, not just capital but also attention.
We're not doing a pre-mainnet like deposit contract, but I agree with Kathy that a lot of this is driven by Babylon, right? And the Babylon cap that just came out. And I think a lot of this activity is driven by two main LSTs on Babylon, which are Lombard and Solve. And they're doing really, really great work in terms of being able to attract Bitcoin and make it productive largely within Ethereum and Cosmos ecosystems. There are a lot of trust assumptions involved in all of these, and I think we all need to Dior. But I do think they're doing a great job in terms of attracting Bitcoin liquidity that's never DeFi'd before, which I think is a Herculean task for everyone involved here, and being able to, actually attract meaningful yield. I think especially Lombard is doing a lot of work with Pendle, and so that is a big area of the TVL. But yeah, I think that's the main dynamic that's at play here.
Okay, interesting. Just because a 5x multiplier is insane, and it was literally like hockey stick growth, and that's a lot higher than what Bitcoin or Ethereum appreciated in the last week. So Ken, you mentioned a little bit about research, and Alisia, you talked about current state versus future state. I'd love to understand where we at today. How is the research coming to fruition? And then we can dig into the nitty-gritty of UX and where we need to go to get to the future state you envision.
Yeah, I think one major theme in terms of like research and development on Bitcoin is BitVM. I think several Bitcoin L2 projects are looking to utilize what's being built with BitVM for their project. So you can see things that were not possible before, like a native bridge from Bitcoin to an L2, now being possible with BitVM. And I think BitVM 2 just came out recently, and now there's actually testnet implementations of it done by several projects already. And I think in the next several months we can see good bridges from Bitcoin to L2s. And I think that's the biggest unlock for these L2s to actually start becoming usable. So I think that's the big thing, at least in my mind right now.
From your perspective, are there any features or main questions that builders are looking to AppKit and Reown to implement?
AppKit in general, or you mean interfacing with Bitcoin? Specifically
for Bitcoin.
I think it's at least the goal that we have with integrating Bitcoin into AppKit. Now that we came from EVM in the first place, then we shipped Solana recently, and now Bitcoin, is to really make it more of a no-brainer UX. Like, it's the reason we'll call like toolkits for on-chain UX, in the sense of I want to be able to use Bitcoin, get the transactions in AppKit directly, do swaps when they're being abstracted without me having to understand, okay, I have to do something completely different to do swaps for Bitcoin versus for Solana versus for EVM, and all this stuff that we kind of take for granted because we work in the industry. But anybody else who's coming to this, it's a complete, oh God, I don't know what to do moment, right? If you encounter that. So that's the main goal for us. And actually, one question I wanted to ask too is, if you don't mind, quickly, I promise, is we have partners coming out to us now. So, are you guys going to support stacks, like L2 questions around Bitcoin? So I want to ask, which L2s do you find the most promising amongst yourselves? Because that's the kind of decision point we're at right now. Okay, like which direction do we go in? I think I know Alicia's answer maybe, but yeah.
This is amazing live user research. This is exactly what you should be doing in person at these conferences.
Selfishly, but it's interesting, right? Please.
I think we're probably very biased, but we're actually, obviously, but actually we were big fans of Mazo and the work that they're doing, so we're very bullish on Mazo as well. I think there's a lot of room for multiple Bitcoin L2 winners. I think it's far too soon to say. but Thesis are obviously OGs, so we massively respect them. I think in terms of your other question, which is thinking about UI, UX features, I've spoken to hundreds of Bitcoiners over the past year and a half, thinking about what is user experience for them. And it's really interesting. We launched our testnet in November of last year. We were the first Bitcoin EVM L2 to come out with an end-to-end functioning testnet with peg-ins and peg-outs. And a lot of these users had never used MetaMask, so we actually had to include, and sorry, we will include obviously Xverse and WalletConnect very, very soon. But back then, a lot of these folks had never even integrated with any sort of hot wallet. So on our testnet, we actually had instructions as to how to set up MetaMask, and MetaMask actually contacted us like, we're receiving record number of signups from your page. So I think there's a lot of fundamental pieces that we can actually rethink. And I think the larger opportunity here for Bitcoin, right, in the vein of ETH was testnet, is rethinking every single aspect of the ETH DeFi experience or the Sol experience and try to make it just more tangible for an actual end user. So we at Botanics, we're thinking, okay, imagine someone who's never DeFi'd before in their entire life. What do they need to do? Okay, they need to set up a wallet. Let's explain to them how to set up a wallet. Let's explain to them how to bridge funds. Let's explain to them how a swap works, right? There's so much fundamental education that needs to be done because I do think the 100 or 1,000x opportunity is bringing Bitcoiners on board and not bridging over existing users. So I do think there's a massive UI, UX potential just in terms of making this experience better than it ever has before.
That's really interesting because it sounds like you're setting yourself up to capture net new audiences versus purely looking at EVM and alt-VM folks that are experienced with DeFi and bridging over to Bitcoin. So it sounds like also Bitcoiners have never used hot wallets before.
Never. And most Bitcoiners, they'll bury their Bitcoin in their backyard or it's on a ledger, and so those are the two main avenues or interaction, or through sexes actually. So most Bitcoiners actually experience Bitcoin through sexes and not even through any sort of hardware wallet or cold wallet. So it's just a very different mentality. And whenever any EVM builder is like, why build on Bitcoin? I'm like, three things: new users, new liquidity, new vibes, change the world.
So I'd love to dig into that a little bit more. When you are redesigning and rethinking about UX and UI from first principles, from the ground up, what does it look like? What do you think it needs to look like? I'd love to ask Kathy and Ken.
Sure. Yeah, I think Bitcoin is notoriously difficult to develop for and has so much complexity that people don't actually unless you're a developer. The OG Bitcoin wallets like Electrum and some of the other Sparrow, they're extremely difficult to use, and people just go use their exchange wallets and just have a custodial wallet, right? So we're trying to change that, and I think in terms of self-custody wallets, Xverse is definitely leading the way for Bitcoin. And our sort of our goal is to abstract away all these complexity, things like UTXOs, different address types, right? Those things we're trying to get rid of. And in terms of what's coming next, Bitcoin L2s, we're also trying to make that as simple as possible, right? On MetaMask right now, if you wanted to use an L2, you have to go to the network, change network, and connect to a different one. What we want to do is there's no network changing settings that you have to fiddle with. All the L2s are going to be natively supported in Xverse, and transitioning from an L1 to L2 is going to be seamless. And the users don't even need to think about what is the underlying L2. They should just think about the apps that they're using and what they're trying to accomplish, whether it's just transferring some money, stable coins, or using DeFi. So that's what we're doing in terms of UX.
Yeah, I think that so the major challenge for using Bitcoin on UX UI side is that I think historically, as Bitcoin evolved, there are multiple. So from wallet address, right? There are multiple wallet address formats. When you connect to a wallet address, use a Bitcoin wallet address, you'll find Taproot, you'll find nested SegWit, native SegWit, and SegWit, and they are all very different. So, and then also there are also different. On top of that, there are also different Bitcoin more viable and again more easy for both developers and users.
Perfect. Thank you so much. We are running short on time, so I'd like to do a lightning network round, pun intended. In one sentence, can you please tell me what are you most excited about, specifically in Q4 through the end of this year, just because I know in crypto we can think so far ahead. So I'll start with you, Ben.
I mean, again, I'm biased, right? So I'm going to say, like, Bitcoin on AppKit. I'm really hyped about that. I've been working with the team towards that already, talking to partners. I know Ken and Xverse are also most likely going to be involved. And yeah, I'm really excited to shipping that. And so like Alisia mentioned, growing the user base, new frontiers, and really making Bitcoin a lot easier to use, both for users, UX, and DX, so developers too. Like the developer experience is just as complex and varied at the moment on Bitcoin. So I'm looking forward to improving on that.
Bringing Bitcoin DeFi, Bitcoin native DeFi to life with our testnet launch.
So the Meso testnet, the very first version of Meso testnet will be live next week. So this is what I'm the most excited about. And on top of that, I also agree with Alisia. I'm excited to see more Bitcoin DeFi protocols coming to the market in Q4.
I would say Bitcoin DeFi, and you mentioned that 5x number earlier. I think that's still like just money that's already in crypto going to Bitcoin. But with Bitcoin price shooting up as it is right now, we're going to see a lot more money coming in from outside crypto, and that's really going to pump that number up. And I think we're probably going to go to the moon.
Number go up. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and thank you to.
Thank you, Emily.
Thanks, Emily.